All right, what's up, guys? Today, what we're going to be going over is the cutting and polishing and coating of the Hellcat here. I'm doing it panel by panel because I don't have time to do it all at once. These are generally the things that I use for cutting, polishing, and coating. Now, I have out here a Meguiar's microfiber cutting pad. This right here is the numbers off of it for you if you're curious about that. And then I have a green CCS pad that is a very light cut polish pad. Now, this is a white car, so I can get away with this polish pad. If this is a darker car like my Camaro that I had, it was black, I had to use a black finishing pad after the cutting pad. And there's even some cases where I had to use this as an in-between and then use the finishing pad to give myself less working time with the 205 polish. Now, are there different products that I could use? Yes, I mean, of course. Are there better products? Probably so, but this is a very good combo. M100, and I don't use 105 because 105 dusts like crazy. M100 is a little bit more gritty. It requires less working time and it doesn't dust nearly as much. The only caveat to that is that you need to make sure that you have something that you can, some water that you can spray on to keep this stuff lubricated unless you want to do small areas. We're going to be doing the trunk lid today, and I'll probably go ahead and the little lip part of the back bumper, I want to go ahead and coat it because everything collects on it. So that'll give me some peace of mind to go ahead and coat that, and it wouldn't hurt later on whenever I coat the rear bumper to go back over it and to have 3 coats on that one area of Seacourse UK 3.0. Now I use this stuff. This is the 3rd vehicle that I'm going to be coated with this. It goes down great. You got to follow directions. It's a tedious process, but we'll go over that. Okay, I got a Porter cable, 7424, I believe is what that is. I've had that thing for about 4 years now. Works great. I'm using 5.5-inch pads. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, so the very first step, what we're doing here is we've already cleaned this paint and decontaminated. I've used the Iron X for a iron fallout remover and got that done, and then I cleaned it with Reset, which is a good wash to prep, okay? And we've got this paint ready to go. I've already taken the clay bar and clay barred the paint. Now we're ready for this buffing process, okay? So what we're looking at on the paint here is it doesn't really need heavy cutting, but there are some spots that need a little bit more attention than others. You notice that I haven't taped anything. I'm not a professional detailer. This doesn't take heavy cutting. I'm not gonna have to cut all the way up to the edges. I just stay away from my edges, especially when using a cutting pad and cutting compound. Stay away from the edges. Don't get close to the spoiler and let this thing beat it up. Don't get on the edge of the trunk or whatever panel you're working with, because on the edge, the paint's very thin. It won't take but a second with this cutting pad, even with this Porter cable, to kill the paint off the edge, and then you're screwed. Okay, so what I've done here is called prime the pad. I've spread out the compound all over the pad, and then once you've primed the pad, you can go ahead and put 2 or 3 dots. Now I use a lot to prime, so I just put 3 dots, and this will be enough for this whole trunk. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pat this in several areas on the trunk and kind of get this stuff spread out. Turn my machine down to 3, and I'm going to spread it out. All right, so now that it's spread out, again, I'm staying away from the edges. I'm gonna speed the video up, turn the volume down so this doesn't kill you. But I'm gonna turn this bad boy all the way up to 5 for me. Like I said, I do not need heavy cutting. I don't wanna sit here and polish this thing 4 times with this light cut polish pad. I wanna go ahead and hit it 1 time with this cutting pad and cutting compound and knock out 90% or 98% of the imperfections, and then come back with that polishing pad and finish it out, because it's a lot less aggressive. So the polishing pad, if I got on the edges or up against a spoiler or something, it wouldn't really hurt the paint unless I kept it there for a long time. So this right here is just to speed up the process for me. So I start out here, never start or stop with the buffer off the paint. get something to wipe this off. Now I did overlapping passes 50%. So I went half the pass. I go slow on my first pass, and then on my second pass, I speed it up. First pass, I use light pressure, because again, I'm not looking for a heavy cut. And then my second pass, I use almost no pressure, just kind of resting my hand on top of the buffer. And there was a spot here, and it's gone. There was a scratch right in here on the trunk lid. I wanted to make sure that it was out, and it is. It looked pretty light, so I figured it would be. So now move on to the spoiler and then the back of the car. If you looked at other videos that I've had right here on the back of the car, I did do a debadging for the charger here. So I'm gonna go ahead and polish that up. If you look, this right here is just the cutting stage. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the cutting stage on the wing and the back of the car, and then y'all will rejoin me when I do the polish on the deck lid here. All right, so welcome back. I finished cutting the trunk as you saw. I did the top of the spoiler. Now the top of the spoiler is a place that if you don't feel comfortable doing this, I would just polish this and not cut it. I would just use a polishing pad. It's a lot more forgiving. It's a lot harder to mess up your paint with a polishing pad. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it, then just don't risk your paint. But if you do feel comfortable, you can hit it real lightly, do a pass or two on it. Remember, light pressure, and try to stay away from these edges right here. If you get on these edges for a second with that cutting pad, even with this quarter cable, you're gonna have some problems. So, same thing for polishing. I've got my polishing pad here. I've put it on, I've primed it up, and I only use 2 dots because M205, the polish I use, is kind of watery. So, I'll go ahead and dot it on the paint in a couple places. And I'm gonna go ahead and go up here during the video too. Bring it down to 3, work it in. All right, and when you prime this pad up real good, it's gonna give you a lot of product. So that's why I just use 2 very small dots, and it's enough for this whole trunk lid, top, and this spoiler, and maybe even enough to do the back of the trunk lid here too. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the machine up, turn it all the way up to 5. That's the one I like to use. And again, I'm using light to medium pressure, just a little bit of push down on it, just enough to push the pad down just a little. And I'm gonna use 50% overlapping passes. All right, I think that's plenty enough for you guys to get the gist. I saw some light scratches over here. Yeah, pretty much got them out. I might go back over that with the cutting pad real quick. Like somebody drug something across the trunk. It's one thing about when you start polishing, sometimes you'll see, once the finish gets a little more clear and polished, you'll see some stuff that you didn't see when you were starting. As you saw in the video, I kind of got over the edge here a little bit. I mean, it's the polishing, that light cut polishing pad and polishing compound. I mean, it's pretty forgiving with what you do. As far as, you know, really mucking up your paint, you got a lot of leeway with that stuff. The downfall to it is, like over here, if you find some light scratches in it that you didn't get the cutting pad, you're gonna have to swap back to the cutting pad because it really doesn't have much cut. I mean, it does have just a little as a finisher. Man, that's looking pretty clear here. Go ahead and show you guys this stuff. Can't even really tell. There we go, that's a little better. So it's looking a lot clearer than what it was. So the next thing that we're gonna do is go ahead and we're gonna prep for the coating. You need a isopropyl alcohol panel wipe. I use CarPro Eraser. It's better than just isopropyl alcohol panel wipe stuff. And is what CarPro recommends to go before their coating, to make sure that all the polishing oils and everything's off the paint before you coat it. And you know, you have to ensure good adhesion to the paint. All right, guys, so I've wiped everything down with CarPro Eraser. I've done with the cutting and polishing. Now we're gonna move on to the coating. All right, you'll have a few things in your box. You'll have this leveling towel, but if you're doing it like me, say if you're doing the whole car, then this leveling towel is okay. You can fold it up back and forth, and after you've given it splash time, use it to level it on out. That's great. But since I'm doing it panel by panel, I got some of the CarPro BOA towels. These are great for leveling. Just remember, the towels you use for leveling, they're no good anymore. Once you've used them, you can throw them away. Some people say you can soak them in some all-purpose cleaner, some APC, and you know, as soon as you get done with them, stick it in a bucket with some APC and then wash them and they're fine. But I just throw them away because I don't want to risk it, because I know that if you don't wash it or anything, this towel gets hard as hell, because this stuff will solidify on this towel and harden, and that'll give you a good idea how hard this stuff is on the surface, because it stiffens this towel up like it's frozen. But you'll also have some of these little square microfiber applicator cloths and an applicator block. So let's go over how to put that on the block. Now, before they started cutting these like this, we used to just cut them. You know, my first coating, I had to cut my applicator block. But now CarPro, you know, they're continuously innovating, so they've went ahead and cut it for you. So you're gonna take your microfiber applicator, get it squared up on this, nice and even. Then you'll take and just spread and tuck. All right, it'll look something like that. Tucked in, it holds it very nice and secure. You'll have your C-Quartz UK or whatever coating you choose, and your leveling towel. So when you get there, you're gonna take this off, put it on, and put you 3 good lines across it. At first, I use 3 good lines, and then when I put more, I just put dots, okay? So let's get over to the car. Okay, so for right now, you don't need your leveling towel. All you need is these 2 things right here. Now, I always apply this on this away from the surface of the car. That way, if it drips, I don't have to worry about hot spots. I'm gonna go over here. Give me 3 lines. Then I'll start my coating. Start against the edge here. Do straight lines. Now on white paint, very difficult to see where you've been. and where you haven't been. But if you move your head to the side, you can see the sheen. It's an oily sheen it leaves on the paint surface. All right, maybe a little bit more. When it starts dragging and you're feeling a good bit of resistance on your applicator, you want to go ahead and get you some more on there. If you don't feel comfortable doing this and not getting it on your glass and other parts, tape those things. If you don't feel comfortable doing entire panels like what I'm doing right now, do one panel at a time. As long as it's not very, very hot outside, like it's around 70 in my garage right now, you're gonna be fine. You got 5 to 7 minutes work time on CarPro UK, Seahorse UK 3.0. That's why I choose it. So it's a harder compound, and you get a little bit longer working time. It works in various climates. So now I'm going back in the other direction. So this is the crosshatch pattern. If you're reading the instructions, when they say use a crosshatch pattern, this is what they're talking about. You go one direction with the coating, and then you go the other direction with the coating. And that makes sure you get even coverage on everything. Now I do some leveling when I'm applying. I just watch my surface. Makes it a lot easier for the next steps. If you see high spots or spots where you ended a stroke applying, then go ahead and get those parts. That'll help you out in a next step in a few minutes when you go to level. That way you don't have as much to level.
Look at this stuff from different angles. Make sure you're getting good coverage.
Alright, while that's taking its time, I'm going to go ahead and do the spoiler here. And you should be wearing gloves doing this. I know it's a chemical, but I ain't worried about it. I might wind up with something later from not doing this, but I just make sure I'm well ventilated. I know I'm in a garage here, but I have a large area in my garage. Coffee. So you let this sit for 3 or 4 minutes, and you have to test it with your leveling towel. If you go to wipe with your leveling towel and it's really grabby and oily still, it's too soon. Don't try to wipe it off too soon, or you're not going to get good adhesion to the paint. If you try to wipe it off too late, it's going to look smeary, and then you're going to have to go back over it with the C-quartz again and try to level it out. Or if you waited long enough, if you wait 15 minutes or so with the smears on it, then it's pretty much set, and you're going to have to go back over and at least polish the paint again to try to get them off. So keep that stuff in mind, and that varies on temperature and humidity. The lower the temperature or the higher the humidity, the longer wait time you're going to have to be able to get this stuff off. It's not very hot in my garage, so I might be more towards the 5-minute range than the 3-minute range. But you want to make sure you give it enough time to do what it needs to do to adhere to the paint. and then you're gonna come back and level it off and make sure you don't have any high spots. Look at it from different angles. Use another light if you have to. Make sure you can't see any streaks or anything in it. And once you get it leveled off, you'll put your second coat on the same way. Do exactly the same thing for your second coat, at least 2 coats on everything. And then once you're done with that, you're done. You let this bad boy sit for 4 hours. If you want to put some of their CarPro Reload sealant down as like a topper, you have, I think, a 1 hour window after you've leveled off the coating. After the final coat, you have a 1 hour window to put that on. I always put that on. Some people don't put it on. You can put it on later. If you don't get it on within that first hour, you've got to wait at least 24 hours before you try to put it on. Then you're not going to want to wash the car for at least 3-4 days and just let it cure. If after the first 4 hours, if you want to sit this thing outside and let it beat in the sun and cure it off, that'll help it even more. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of exactly how I do it. I know it was a long video. We cut the paint. We went ahead and polished the paint, and we also applied a coating to the paint as well. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the back and the top of the bumper like I said I was gonna do. No need in boring you guys through all the coats and everything. It's all pretty much the same exact process. Thank each and every one of y'all for tuning in and watching the videos. Appreciate all you guys, for real. Everybody that watches that's been around since the beginning, you're the reason that I keep making these videos. Sometimes it's a pain in the butt to make them, but I'm glad that I make them. Thank you guys. Remember to like and share. I'm out.